members of the City Council, City of Commerce, Joint Powers, Financing Authority, and the governing body of the successor agency to the Commerce Community Development Commission to order. Lena, can you roll call, please?
Councilmember Garcia. Councilmember Linus.
Here.
Councilmember Igorio. Vice Mayor Altamirano.
Here.
And Mayor Guimeno.
Here. Do you have any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay. We'll move to, recess to closed session. We'll be covering during closed session.
2 items in the closed session agenda. The City Council will confer with its labor negotiator with respect to labor negotiations pertaining to compensation and benefits for them represented full-time executive management employees. And item number 2, conference regarding public employee recruitment, employment appointment, employee title, city manager.
Thank you, Lena. And at this time, we'll recess to closed session. Thank you. Okay, everybody, thank you all. We'll now reconvene from closed session. Could we have legal counsel's report, please?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, with all 5 members of the council being present, the city council met in closed session, discussed item number 1, city staff meeting presentation. City council provided direction. The conversation was not completed. The intent is to reconvene into closed session after the open session agenda to continue the discussion on number 1. Item number 2 was not discussed in closed session. That completes my report out of closed session.
Thank you, legal counsel. And at this time, we're going to call the regular city council meeting to order. And if I could please, could we have roll call, please? Nina?
Councilmember Garcia? Here. Councilmember Linus?
Here.
Councilmember Reboyer?
Here.
Vice Mayor Altamirano?
Here.
And Mayor Guimedo.
Here. And at this point, if I can have everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance by our Acting Director of Public Works, Gina Nila. And please remain standing for the invocation by Councilwoman Mireya Garcia. Thank you.
Please place your right hand over your heart and begin. Pledge allegiance.
Dear City Council members, colleagues, and residents, let's start the new year by coming together and supporting each other as a community. We need to prioritize the well-being of our residents and work towards our shared goals. Our city's diversity is our strength, and we should embrace this promoting unity and leading hand to those who need it. As we move forward, let's make decisions that show our dedication to making our city a better place for everyone. Amen.
Amen. Thank you both for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. And ladies, thank you for also, we heard you loudly and clearly with that Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. And at this point, we're going to move to appearances and presentations. We have item number 1. Of course, we have the 64th city birthday celebration and cake cutting ceremony. And I believe we have our Parks and Recreation Director coming up to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Mayor, members of City Council. Greg Alanis, Director of Parks and Recreation. And yes, that was pretty cool, you guys. Nice and loud, and it was very well heard amongst everybody. So, thank you and good evening. Welcome to the City of Commerce 64th Birthday Cake Cutting Ceremony. The City of Commerce was incorporated on January 28th, 1960. Tonight we celebrate 64 years. Round of applause, please, for a wonderful city. Before we go any further, allow me to introduce the members of City Council. The Honorable Mayor Hugo Argumedo. Vice Mayor Ivan Altamirano. Council Member Mireya Garcia. Council Member Kevin Lainez. And Council Member Oralia Rebollo. Also joining us this evening is our Unplugged program that will assist with the birthday song in a few moments. At this time, I'd like the Honorable Mayor, who will share a few words at this time.
Thank you, Greg, and I'll do that. Ladies and gentlemen, residents of our generous City of Commerce, today we gather with immense pride and joy as we celebrate the 64th birthday of our incredible city. It is an honor to stand before you as your mayor, along with my colleagues on the City Council, and extend my warmest wishes on this special occasion. 64 years ago, our community was founded on the principles of unity, resilience, and progress. Through thick and thin, our shared journey has strengthened and the bonds of our community, reinforcing the notion that together we can overcome anything that comes our way. As we reflect on our city's rich history, let us also look ahead to the future. Together, we can continue to build a city of commerce that thrives, a place where every resident contributes to the tapestry of our success. I encourage each and every one of you to take a moment today to appreciate the unique spirit of our community. Whether you've been here for generations or are a newcomer, you play a vital role in shaping our shared destiny. Happy 64th birthday, City of Commerce. May the years ahead be filled with prosperity, unity, and abundance of community pride. Thank you, and here's to many more years of shared achievements and lasting memories. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, I'd like the mayor and city council to move forward in front of their birthday cake so we can begin the celebration. And if I can also ask that Unplug be stand and report to your location. So before you obviously have the cake there, and you also have the lighter and the cake cutter. So I'd like at this time, if you would light the candle, please. You might want to take a step back after. And then we will begin singing Happy Birthday to the City of Commerce. All right. 1, 2, 3. Happy. Thank you, Council, Unplugged, and members of the audience. At this time, you can grab the cake cutter there, and we will take the photo op. I'd also like to invite the Unplugged participants to also join City Council for the photos. So you can make your way up, kids. And parents, you're more than welcome to come up and take a few photos as well. Thank you, Unplugged, and thank you to City Council. On behalf of the City Council, thank you for celebrating with us today. And at this time, I believe there will be a short recess for City Council for a few minutes to join the audience and Unplugged in the foyer for a few goodies to celebrate the 64th birthday. Thank you very much.
I was gonna get the keys.
Roll call. Watch. Read that. Those are the green? Oops.
All right, so that was a short 10 minutes. Thank you all for your patience, and we're going to continue on with the agenda. Again, thank you all for celebrating the city's 64th birthday. We appreciate the great work, Greg, and everybody involved in the great celebration. Thank you, guys. At this point, we're going to move to public comment, and I see one card. Is that all we have, Lena? Nick Padilla, please come on up. Nick, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, hello. My name is Nick Padilla. I'm a resident here in the City of Commerce. I reside at 2473 Travers Avenue here in the City of Commerce. Pretty much lived here, born and raised here all my life, and very proud resident. Proud to be a part of the City of Commerce, that's for sure. I'd like to share this letter with the mayor and the council, if I may.
Sure, please. Get it over to our city clerk, thank you, that'd be fine.
I'm here to basically direct this message to our honorable mayor, Hugo Argumento, primarily, and as well as to the council. I'm here to speak about my daughter, Charlie Padilla. She is 11 years old, and this is about the trip in Hawaii, as well as the entire competitions they've had all this year. And basically, I've been brought up as a son to my parents, basically just growing up, that when you have something good to say, something good to share, when you have some good news, in these times of a lot of negativity, it's always good to speak up and say what's positive, what's going on. And I know that this recognition for the dance team may be happening possibly next month or in the near future, but I know if I was to come up and speak about my daughter, she would literally kill me. She's 11 years old, and she was like, "Daddy, what are you doing? You know, I would not see daylight tomorrow." But she's not here, so I'm able to speak a little openly about it. And basically, this is the first time my daughter has received a principal's honor roll, straight A's. This just got the report card this couple of days ago in the mail. And she also received it the semester prior, both times during this time of the dance team. Before then, her grades were not so great. She was very shy, very timid, kind of fearful to speak up in groups, and she's always been kind of small. And so she had some bullies in school here at Rosewood, and we all know about bullies. And when I was young, I wasn't so big myself growing up in elementary, and I had my share of bullies, and it was a difficult thing when you have things that go against you at that age. But I remember during that time, I've always had flag football, I had baseball, I had basketball, swimming. These programs were always here for me, and my parents were always busy working, making ends meet. And so I was approached to take drugs. I was approached to sign up to be in gangs and to do bad stuff when I was a child. And instead, I chose to be in sports. I chose to be in the programs that the cities offered at that time. And one thing that I remember, Hugo knocking on my parents' door back then, always promoting activities throughout the years, as well as the council. And I am so happy. It was the choice for me when I shopped around for a home to buy here in Commerce, because sincerely, in all my heart, I did not see any other cities offering the programs and the benefits and the low-cost opportunities for residents that wanted to have a family and be involved and keeping their kids out of trouble. And I am so grateful. I'm 58 now, approaching retirement soon, and I am so grateful to receive that letter. My daughter signing up for the dance team with Nancy. Wow, she's no longer as timid She's strong, she's confident, her self-esteem has built, her grades. I have no doubt in my mind with her grades and these opportunities that she'll probably for sure get a scholarship, a full paid scholarship, just like my son Nicholas, following the same footsteps. I think as fathers and moms, we all want this to happen for our kids. And this is just an example of the programs, the employees that you put into the city, such as Nancy, Frank, and Anthony, that are dedicated and put their hearts into pushing these kids. So they build their self-esteem, their foundations, their confidence, and they win championships like Hawaii, world champions. Amazing, just really, really amazing. And so, sorry if I get a little choked up here, but I talk to my kids about my kids, I get all choked up. But I really appreciate you, Argumento, and the council for passing these programs, providing these employees with the tools and the equipment they need, the stages, the showmobiles, the low cost for residents and families like myself to jump in and get involved, and make these kids, become something in the future. And they are our future. And so, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Next month, when the recognition comes up, I won't say all this stuff. I might say a few words, but you'll understand if you meet Charlie. She's a sweetie, but she'll kill me if I said this later on. So again, thank you very much. I am so proud of the dance team, as well as the polo and unplugged and all the other teams that you all promote here. I'm a very, very proud parent. I really appreciate it. That's all.
Thank you, Nick. We appreciate your time, your comments, and again, congratulations to all of our kids for their great victory, and they were very well deserved. I mean, they were just outstanding. But it really goes to earlier. I was saying today we gather here with immense pride, and I made reference to the city, and actually the remarks were residents of our beloved city, and I said, I changed it to generous city, because it really truly has been a very generous city that has given so much to so many here in our community, and that's why I changed those words. But it's thanks to the great work of our employees, everybody that contributes to making this city what it is here today, all of our instructors, of course our instructors, parents also, because they have to put in time and effort into getting those kids there to make sure that they get there for practices and whatnot. But it takes a team, and we've got a great team here, and I want to thank you for coming up and making your remarks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so that concludes our public comment, and we're going to go to the consent calendar. And we have items, I believe 2, 3, I understand is 4 being continued?
Yes, staff requests that you continue this item to the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we're continuing that to what meeting?
We're looking at February 13th.
Okay, all right. So a motion would be in order to approve items 2, 3, 5 at this time.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to pull item number 5.
Sure. All right, so a motion would be in order to approve items 2 and 3.
Move.
We have a motion, is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you. And at this point, we'll go to item number 5, Drinking Water Treatment Operations and Maintenance Funding Program. Who will be presenting on this item?
I think it's Gina.
We have Gina Neal here this evening.
Hi, Gina. Thank you. Just a question. So when I read the report, it sounds like the city is eligible for $1.3 million or up to $1.3 million between now and the end of 2025 for water infrastructure improvements or any of the operational overhead that goes into those improvements. Can you confirm that's correct, or?
Yes, it's actually a grant. We provided the detailed cost of what our treatment costs would be during that period of time that would be qualifying under WRD Water Replenishment District's granting program. And they are now granting it. And in order for us to submit reports and get reimbursements for those costs during that time period, we need to enter into an agreement with them.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's free money.
Yeah, no questions. I just wanted to thank you and staff for identifying this opportunity, and I felt it should be pulled and just given its proper due in the meeting. So it's up to 1.3 million. I
Yes.
think that's a significant amount of money for water
Yes.
infrastructure improvements.
Mhm.
We have our own water system, and you and I have talked about it, right? It can be very costly to repair it.
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you for finding this opportunity. Much appreciated.
Okay. Thank you.
No further questions, Mayor.
Thank you. And if there's no additional comments or questions, a motion would be in order on this item.
So moved.
Second.
We have motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Thank you. All right, and now we'll move to scheduled matters, and we'll start with item number 6, Eastern Avenue Transit Hub. Tina?
All right, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, good evening. So back by popular demand, we've been requested to present some additional information on the Eastern Bus Hub project that was completed. And at the last meeting that it was discussed, there were some questions, some further analysis that we were going to do and return to council with some additional information and with a staff recommendation. I'd like to this evening bring up Mr. Scott Ma from HCI, who is our traffic consultant on the Eastern project, and he will have a presentation for council. And after that presentation, we ask council to receive and file the presentation and to consider staff's recommendation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. My name is Scott Ma. I am a senior engineer with Hartzog and Crable, and we were retained to do the Eastern Gilson traffic signal warrant study. So first off, we're going to start with some background. In June 2021, City Council approved the Eastern Avenue Transit Hub project and awarded it to CEM for construction. And a couple of the key elements for the project was to construct the transit hub on Eastern Avenue at Arbor Street, reduce Eastern Avenue to 1 lane in each direction, and to install striped bike lanes. In June 2023, CEM completed construction, and the city filed a notice of completion with the county records office. And in August 2023, staff presented to City Council 5 alternatives regarding the 1 lane reduction on Eastern Avenue. So at that City Council meeting, Council raised some comments and questions. First question was, is a signal warranted at the Eastern Gilson intersection? They also noted that there appears to be more collisions after the lane reduction on Eastern Avenue and that there's more congestion on Eastern Avenue. So in regards to the signal warrants, the California MUTCD, there are 9 warrants to consider for signals. And if it does meet signal warrants, it does not necessarily mean that a signal should be installed, only that consideration for a signal warrant should be taken. And after looking at the entire evaluation, make an engineering judgment as to whether or not a signal should be installed. Regarding the results of the warrants, it did meet warrants 1, 2, and 3, which are based on volumes. And it did meet warrant 7, which is based on collisions. So in regards to signal warrants, there are other things to take into consideration. And in this particular case, we want to make sure that there's proper spacing between traffic signals. The general recommendation for spacing of traffic signals is 600 feet. If their signals are spaced more closely together, there is a potential of queuing from one intersection to the other and blocking the adjacent intersection, causing additional congestion. So in this particular case, Eastern and Gilson is approximately 330 feet to the Eastern and Washington intersection. Another consideration is to look at the collision history patterns at the intersection. And from our evaluation of the collisions, there's a pattern of collisions involving traffic on the side street, Gilson Avenue, colliding with traffic on the main street, Eastern Avenue, essentially resulting in multiple broadside collisions at the intersection. The question that we would like to look at is in lieu of installing a traffic signal, is there a different measure that can be implemented that would address the issue? And in this case, there is a consideration to implement right in, right out on Gilson Avenue. Now, our recommendation is in lieu of a traffic signal, we're recommending to restrict Gilson Avenue to right in and right out. Now, that does result in some additional travel routes that drivers have to take since they're not able to cut across Eastern Avenue at Gilson, and that would either involve making a right onto Eastern Avenue, making a U-turn, or using parallel streets such as Washington Boulevard. Next, we're going to look at the collision data, and we're going to present the 7-year collision data on Eastern Avenue before this project. The yearly average rate was 7.9 collisions per year. And then after completion of the project, which was in March of 2023, and then we're collecting data up to the present date, there were 8 collisions to date. So in regards to if this project did result in additional collisions, the data is preliminary since we only have a 10-month sample, so we cannot definitely say there's a trend one way or the other, but it does appear to be in line with prior history. Next, we're going to quickly go over the Eastern Avenue alternatives that we presented at the prior meeting, which alternative 1 is to revert Eastern Avenue back to a 4-lane road. We would still have the bike lanes on Eastern Avenue, but at the transit hub, it would meander behind the transit hub onto private property on a bike path. And for this particular example, the estimated cost is $418,000, but that does not include the easement that's needed on the private property. Alternative 2 is similar to alternative 1, except that the bike lane would continue all the way through to Harbor Street. And in order to complete that, the bus hub would be turned into a pull-out area, a turnout area. And in this case, the estimated cost is $610,000, and that does not include the cost of the easement that's needed on the private property. Alternative 3, again, is similar to the others, where we will restore Eastern Avenue to 4 lanes. In this scenario, the bike lane on Eastern Avenue would end at the bus hub, and then that would allow the bicyclists to use their judgment as to what is the best path forward. And that could be either taking the full lane, travel lane, which is allowed by state law, or they can continue to use the bus lane or the bus hub, continue through there if there's not a particular bus at that location, and they can always use their discretion as to what they feel particularly safe. And again, another alternative is they can decide to walk their bike on the sidewalk. My apologies. The cost for this improvement is $291,000. Alternate 3A is very similar to alternate 3. The same improvements, except we would be installing the shared lane markings, or commonly known as sharrows, on the travel lane, and this cost is $293,000. The last alternative is alternative 4, where we'll be restoring to the 4 lanes, but we will not be installing any bike lanes, and this is at $247,000. Staff recommendation is to implement alternative 3, which is to restore the Eastern Avenue to a 4-lane road, install the bike lane up against the curb, and to end the bike lane just before the bus hub, and at that point, the bicyclists will use their discretion as to whether they feel more appropriate to take the travel lane or to continue in through the bus hub. And this cost is $291,000. So in summary, staff recommendation is for the Eastern and Gilson Avenue, in lieu of a traffic signal, is to restrict Gilson Street to right in, right out. And for Eastern Avenue is to proceed with alternative 3. And, that concludes my presentation. So I'm available for questions that you may have.
Thank you for the presentation, and thank staff and yourself for listening to the comments that have been made on several occasions, and us moving forward to hopefully resolve this ongoing issue that's been a problem for some time. Is there any comments, questions, members of the City Council? Yes, we have Councilwoman Rebollo, please.
Can you pull up the statistics for the traffic collisions again? I want to understand it better,
Sure.
please.
There we go.
So we had a total of 55 collisions, correct? In those 7 years,
Over a 7-year period.
over
correct.
a 7-year period. And within 10 months, we've had 8. Correct?
Over a 10-month period.
Over a 10-month period, there's been
Yes.
8 so far. Okay.
So that was from the completion of the project up to
Up
the
to now.
present time.
Okay. And then can you also pull up staff recommendations alternative 3? Can you pull up what it would look like this? And that's the shared bike lane, correct?
Yes, it's a concept of it where we're only installing the bike may use full lane sign only.
Okay. Does this mean the bus lane also goes away? I'm sorry, this is kind of a little busy for my brain, so I'm just trying to, I'm trying to understand it. Is this saying also then that the bus lane completely goes away and the bus lane is now being shared by vehicles?
So the bus hub would stay.
Uh-huh.
In regards to the bicyclist, he has the option to either take the travel lane, or if the bus is not present at the bus hub, he is fully allowed to continue on through the bus hub, which is much safer in that regard.
So then, sorry, I'm not a traffic expert, so I'm looking at this and I'm trying to understand it. once the bus comes out of the bus hub, it goes into the right lane, correct? Because there's a right turn. It goes back to two, if I'm understanding this correctly. It really goes back to two travel lanes because there's one left lane, one to turn right, and there's two travel lanes, correct?
For this alternative, there's 2 travel lanes.
Okay, so it doesn't go back to 4, it goes back to the 2. And then the bus hub goes into the right lane, yes?
Further down the street, the bus hub it ends and becomes
goes
a
into-
right turn lane.
Okay. Got it. And so bicyclists, we're saying, would go into lane 1 or lane 2? Yes?
If the bus is present, it can go into any lane, but ideally or most logically, they would probably go into the
But it's going to
closest
be
lane.
shared with vehicles. And what we would do is just put up signs that warn drivers to basically be careful, share the road with bicyclists. Yes?
Yes, that
Okay.
bicyclists may be present.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I was just trying to understand it.
Thank you. Councilmember Linus?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple of questions. Why are we recommending alternative 3 versus a 3A? Just because I know typically when I've seen a share the road, right, which essentially is what alternative 3 is, there is a symbol at least identifying that this is a class 3 bike lane, right? You'll have like the 2 arrows and the bike
Right.
on there.
So in this particular case, given that the bus hub is used infrequently by the bus, so they're not parked there at all times, we wouldn't want to mislead the bicyclists into thinking that they have to go into the travel lane with the share lane marking. So without the marking, they have the discretion of whether they can take the full lane, which is allowed by state law, or they can continue through the bus hub. So it sort of gives them an additional option, which one they would rather choose. So that's why we're going with alternative 3.
That makes sense. Is there a precedent for this type of implementation? Has this been applied anywhere that you know of?
Not off the top of my head. I can't, rattle off that specific location, but
But nothing comes to mind?
Not a particular location, not at this moment.
Okay. Let's see. I think my last question is, given that Eastern is an arterial road, right? I think one of the concerns was, apart from the congestion and the vehicular challenges, the bike lane just doesn't feel safe, right? It doesn't feel safe. Has there been any thought about utilizing reflective paint up until the bus hub or shortly before, just to add like an extra layer of delineation? Or is that something you would advise against, and if so, why?
No, we could. That's a good suggestion. All our paint that we install is a thermoplastic, so that's reflective anyways. So in a sense, it's already incorporated into the project.
Okay. But so I'm talking about like the green reflective paint that I'm sure you're familiar with this, right? It's done throughout the region.
The green bike striping for the bike lane.
Correct.
And that is something that we could consider for this project. It's not presented as part of this project, but that's something we can look into.
I'm not trying to be too prescriptive, so I'll just give you the problem from my end. Again, it was communicated that the lanes do feel unsafe, and so I feel like some type of extra marking or delineation would be a safety measure here. But I mean, I guess that's just my perspective, right? So if there's something else that we can do that would help clarify that buffer a little bit, I'm open to suggestions, right?
Certainly. I just wanted to clarify, do you mean the entire striped bike lane along the curb to be painted green?
Correct, with the
Or
exception of the
only-
bus hub, right? Let's not touch the bus
Okay.
hub or the bus lane. That's fine. Don't leave that as. But there's about a block or so, right, of a stretch of, if not a little bit more, where it's main road, right? But it's just kind of like a bike lane, right?
Okay, so you're not necessarily saying stripe green thermoplastic paint from Washington to Harbor.
No.
Sometimes like City of Long Beach will do blocks of green at intersections, you know, to kind of just make drivers aware that this is also being shared by bicyclists.
I think, just what I would like to see is the consideration for something like that.
Sure.
Again, I don't want to be too prescriptive. I don't want to give like a directive and then
Yeah.
it's silly, right? But I think the problem that I'm trying to solve for is I do want to make that bike lane feel a little bit more safe. And I
Visual.
think a way to do that is by making sure that it's clearly delineated, like, hey, like this is a dedicated bike lane,
Okay.
even if it's just for a stretch, just
Sure.
because of the nature of the street, right? It's arterial, right? So
Yes.
we're going 35 miles an hour, if not faster, right?
Mhm.
Well, hopefully not faster, but 35 miles an hour.
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that,
Okay.
we're
There's a
doing everything
visual
that we can
delineation.
do to,
Okay.
yeah, correct.
Okay.
So is that, and it doesn't have to be a part of this project, but I would really strongly consider something like that,
I think your points are very valid. I think they're good comments. Just if you don't mind, I'll piggyback
Sure.
off some of your comments. Same slide that you're on now. Over to the left-hand side of the actual markings on the actual street there. Is that a bike lane? Is that what that is there, or are we not looking at a bike lane?
The white ones?
On the left-hand side on the street there,
Right. It's a
before
combination.
where the bus would stop. Is that a bus lane on the left? I mean, a bike lane.
Correct. It's sort of clipped there, but it is a bike lane.
It is a
and
bike lane.
and a buffer lane.
So it would include a bike lane.
Yes, it would go all the way up to the driveway just before the bus stop.
Okay, and so the question would be, are you asking would that continue on the actual, where the bus is, continue it through this part here?
No, no, close. But what I'm saying is, I think there should be like green reflective paint for that dedicated swath of the bike lane. So I'm not saying stripe the bus lane or anything. I'm just saying for about a block or so, it's going to be a dedicated bike lane, right? So
Correct. And
and given that some of the concerns were safety, right, and bicyclist safety, my suggestion would be to add green reflective paint, like we've seen in the city of Long Beach or
Sure.
city of Santa Monica, for that stretch of dedicated bike lane, right? Just for that stretch of so the part on the left that you're identifying, right there,
Okay,
slide.
down here.
Correct.
Okay. So we would, instead of, it's shown as white right now, we'd like to see it with green.
Filled in green, yeah.
Okay.
And I'll show you a picture if you want to see it, but
Can I ask a
Something like
follow-up
that.
question while you guys are doing
Okay.
that?
Got it.
Can I ask a follow-up question while you guys are doing that?
Yes, yeah, please. Please
because-
ask, council
okay?
member, is that okay?
you're good. Yeah.
He's got the floor. Thank you.
So if I'm because now I'm like way more confused. What we're saying is there's gonna be a bike lane for about a block. Then we're gonna go into 2 lanes on Eastern, correct? So for a block on Eastern, it's gonna be still just 1 lane, and then we go into 2 lanes.
the entire
I'm trying
stretch,
to visualize it
the entire stretch of Eastern Avenue would be restored to 2 lanes. Each
to 2
direction.
lanes. So then the dedicated bike lane would be
It would be pushed up against the curb.
So the reason we don't have
Ah,
2 vehicular lanes is because, and the bike lane,
because of the
right,
bus hub.
is because of the bus lane. But because there's no bus lane until you get to
A
like
bus
close
hub.
to Harbor,
Got it.
they're still able to put a bike lane closer to the curb, which is what some of us here on the dais have asked for. Why isn't it closer to the curb?
Yeah.
Got
right?
it.
Agree.
So
Okay. And you as is it okay to continue? sorry, you as the traffic expert, you don't see this being more of an issue when we have a dedicated bike lane and then you're telling the cyclist, well, now you could pick, right? Stay on the road with cars, or because there's no dedicated bike lane, correct?
Correct. There's no striped bike lane.
And
so-
it's not more of a safety issue for a bicyclist to then kind of, you're on this bike lane and then, oh, the bike lane is gone, where do I go? Like, I'm not trying to be funny, I'm just trying to understand.
I
Like,
understand.
if I'm on a bike lane and all of a sudden it's gone and now I'm with a car, like, how does that work, right? Because now you're going to merge into a lane with a moving car, right? Doesn't that cause more of a traffic issue, like a safety hazard? In my mind, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Right, and it does not necessarily make it a more as a safety hazard. And ideally every street would have a bike facility, would have a bike lane. And unfortunately, we're not at that point with our infrastructure that we do have bike lanes or bike facilities on every street. And as we move forward, with each project, we're looking to add bike lanes, bike facilities on every street. So this condition does come up in Commerce and in other cities where there's bike lanes, and right where the project ends, unfortunately, the bike lanes do not continue because it's not the most cost-effective way to implement a project where you're just solely dedicated on installing bike lanes. So in this case, this was a combination of projects that were put together on Eastern Avenue, the bus hub, the bike lanes, and the lane configurations. So
Thank you, Councilmember, for yielding some of your time to me.
Mayor.
Councilmember Linus, yeah, you want to finish up? You still have the table.
No, I think those are my questions. It's funny. I think the most complaints that I've gotten since I've been in office is the bike lane on Eastern. So, for whatever that's worth.
Mayor.
Well, that's why we're having that discussion. But let me go ahead and move on. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
To both of their points, I think that, in my opinion, if we could speak about our alternative 2, if you could show that on the screen, please. I think that would probably be the safest. I think if we can get the bus completely off of Eastern, and the bike can just continue, and that green paint can just continue through the entire street instead of stopping in front of the bus stop.
Could I just follow up with a quick comment related to that? And I like, you made reference to this. Part of the problem is that we've never thought about the green striping for the entire part of the whole bike route project, which means that you got to go across the street now and do the same, right? I mean, you in essence have to go and restripe all of that. So moving forward, I think we need to keep that in mind, which obviously means I don't think you guys are doing it for free, correct? So we just need to keep that in mind. I wish we had this discussion initially when we came up with this, because you're absolutely right. Other cities have done it. That's what they did. That's what differentiates a bike lane from regular lane. But the other part that isn't being covered here is part of what you alluded to and talked about with regards to state law. Basically, you can ride a bike on the street. You can share the road with any of these streets now, correct? So at this point here, it is up to the individual to use good judgment, because you're sharing the road. And in reality, you're still sharing it, even though it's designated as a bike lane. You're still sharing it, and you still have to use those same, you got to be careful, you got to watch for traffic. And I'm just adding this only because I have biked, and I do still, recently I have, in the last few months I haven't, but I do get out there, and when I do bike, you got to constantly be looking out for people driving out there, because the reality is that they're not always looking out for you. And so you have to be extremely careful when you're out there biking. But Vice Mayor, my apologies for taking up your time. I just wanted to clarify that, because if we implement something like that, we need to take it into account because we're gonna have to apply it through our entire bike route system, I think.
Absolutely,
I
I
think
think,
appropriate.
At least on the arterial road, right? At least on these.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, absolutely. I've driven through other cities and I've seen that green paint, and it's not even an island, but it almost looks like an island, and it divides it. I think that it makes the drivers a little more aware of what's going on while they're driving because their eye can see a different color on the road. But also, council, what do you think about? I know that headed in this direction, number 2 would be a little more expensive. However, with the cutting into the curb area, will take the bus completely off of Eastern, and it'll help with traffic flow. It'll help with the bike not having to go around the bus when the bus is there onto a lane on Eastern and then back onto its original bike lane. But I mean, if money wasn't an issue, and this was part of, I was going to say my home, but this is my home, I would do this to create safety for not only the buses so they won't get rear-ended, but for the bikes and cars. This is the route that I would prefer to go. Is there any feedback you can give me on this versus number 3?
Well, my response to that, Vice Mayor, is that 1, it is considerably expensive, and 2, we're not sure at this time that it would be feasible because that would require an easement. And in the past, I understand that the owner of that property was not so open to the city taking their piece of property in order to, do any such project. So that would have to be pursued with the private property owner, and it may not be as feasible.
Okay.
And if we wanted to do anything now, we're coming, back to council with something that I think is reasonable. It can be fairly quickly corrected, with the new pavement rehab program, which is going to be scheduled for the summer, and and so that we could see more immediate change.
I mean, we definitely want immediate change, but I wouldn't mind also entertaining number 2, moving in the direction of 3, if that's what the council wants, but at the same time approaching the owner just in case there's a change of heart. Then we can start to make some decisions and see what the timeline is on that. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I think it's a good idea, but we should move forward with something to alleviate the problem now, resolve the problem, and part of it I think is allowing us to take a look at how this works out, and that should be part of the ongoing monitoring that we should do, see how that works out, see how the flow of traffic is, see if it improves things, which I feel that it will, and then we can look and weigh things and say, hey, you know what? Seems to be working, or it's not working. We still have some ongoing problems. Probably that would be a good solution for the future, and we should explore it. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Yes.
One of the questions I also had, and I know that Councilmember Garcia has some, but I'll follow up after her
That's okay.
comments. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to know the alternative 2 would bring back the 2 lanes on each side. Okay.
With the bike lane.
So my question is, what are our options removing the hub station and putting it somewhere else, away from the residential area? Somewhere like maybe on Randolph, Slauson, where there's more businesses
That's more
instead
of a
of,
transportation question. That would be an entirely new project that would be presented to Measure AA as a new CIP project for a study. And then, that would be a separate project to come back to council at a later time with the completion of the study as far as other options. I believe that was done. I don't know if it was strictly for Chilson or if there were other locations that were also studied some years ago as to the location that was, resulted in Eastern's bus hub. It's gonna take him a minute.
welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, in the previous comprehensive study. The location of the hub was based on the positioning of the routes, trying to keep it in close proximity to the mixed match as close as possible to eliminate buses having to go back and forth. So that's why originally it was slated for Gilson to kind of keep it in close proximity to decrease the travel for buses going across back and forth.
Back
We
and
could look
forth.
at those other locations, but as far as cost-wise, it'd almost be cheaper to do alternative number 2 than tearing down, removing. It's possible, but they're probably going to exceed the cost of alternative 2, which would probably be the better option.
You mean back and forth for the buses? That wouldn't be able, we wouldn't be able to move this bus hub elsewhere?
You could, you would have to break it down, move. Then we got the kiosk put there that was installed. That would have to be moved as well. Wiring, then take that over to a new location, probably have to do grounding. Probably going to be similar to alternative 2 if you go to Slauson, where it's probably going to do a curb cut as well to mitigate any disruption in traffic. Not to get you wrong, it can be done, but it's probably going to be more expensive than alternative 2. But we can look at that and come back. We can forward that as part of the CIP if you prefer.
And just a quick question. When they stop at the bus hub and then they come up towards Eastern and make a right on Harbor, is that the route that they're supposed to take, the buses? Because that's what I see. They go through the residential area, through the school, and they go up Commerce Way. Is
Correct.
that a normal route for them?
Yes, to pick up the kids right there from Rosewood.
Not,
and then
not
it can-
Commerce, just the regular buses that just pass by there.
The regular bus that's not Commerce?
No.
Oh, the Metro bus. Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, that was a new.
Yeah, just whatever buses you got other
Yeah,
than
no,
Commerce.
Metro has started a new route where they start serving the Slauson Occupational Center off of Rettenbacher. So they come this particular route to go up to Rickenbacker and Eastern to serve their new occupational center. So that's why you see those buses now coming through Eastern as part of their new route. They just started that in, I believe, November or December, somewhere in there.
How can we stop that? That's just for safety purposes. I know that our residents are used to seeing our Commerce bus, but the regular buses that just keep passing through there, it's just,
I could coordinate with Metro and see. So your concern is the buses coming off of Eastern on to Harbor?
yes, from Commerce Way back to Washington.
I could reach out with more on Metro so they can get another alternative route as it relates to them traveling or
great,
traversing
thank
through
you.
that area and can get back with you.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have another question regarding the right in and out. Is that,
For me or for Tina? Oh, okay.
thank you, Mr. McPherson. So does that mean that the right in and out is on Gilson Street just to make a right turn only, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there another alternative that we can go? I mean, because growing up in that area on Gilson Street, we were able just to cross over. We already took the bus routes away from our residents, you know, the local bus routes, and now we want to take away the Gilson Street cross through. Is there any alternative that we can have, like yellow lights, assessment lights, or whatever? I don't know the verbiage, but it's the light like the schools have, and it's just a caution light. And we go with that instead of making a right turn only. Is that possible?
In regards to the California MGCD, I don't think there's an application that meets specifically what you're describing. So the flashing lights are for other uses such as alerting drivers when pedestrians want to cross the street, or that would probably be the most common example.
So can we go that route? Did you say no? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
For this particular case, there isn't that type of application
But there
for
could
warning
be.
lights for this particular case.
But there could be one.
Thinking off the top of my head, I don't see one, but you can always look and see if there's something that does come up.
Instead of just a right turn, because it's just easier for someone to just cross through instead of going all the way around. I mean, it defeats the purpose, right? You're making a right turn to Washington, or either, yeah, just a right turn, you have to go all the way around, or make a left on Washington to get to your destination before previously. I mean, now you just cross the street or on Gilson straight forward to directly to your location. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. And should council not want to, or to modify staff's recommendation and not approve the right turn on Gilson, we can continue to monitor that section, during this year and come back when we see, once the new striping is in place, to see if there's anything that warrants council's consideration of some other kind of measure that we can look into. But for now, if council wishes to modify staff's recommendation, we can certainly move forward with the other striping plan and then monitor it after the striping has been changed.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Thank you, council, for the various questions, comments, and suggestions that have been made. It appears to me that, based on the presentation that we received, obviously we've had problems in the past, and you looked at some of the statistics, which also included, by the way, you covered Gilson, Washington, and Eastern, I believe, as the reported statistics were included in that. And on the ones in the 10-month period, which you had 8, I could probably say that, based on just the short period of time, we'll probably, if we do the math on that, we'll probably get to a good, probably 40, in excess of 40 potential problems there, in the future. So it is, I think we need to absolutely address this issue. It's enough. There's been a lot of concerns related to it. A lot of people have contacted us with regards to ongoing issues, and I'm really glad that you're coming back with a recommendation to basically reinstate the previous two lanes going in each direction. I really like some of the comments that were made also, whether it's the striping, but we also need to make sure that if we're going to move forward with that, we need to be consistent, all the way through that area there, if not the entire bike route that we're going to be implementing throughout the city. But we should be looking at it, and if, we can't be inconsistent. You got two lines here, and then you go to another part of the city where we've implemented a bike lane, and there it's just white lines. We should have done that throughout the entire bike lane path. And if that's what we need to do, we should be looking at that. But specifically for this here, I believe alternative 2 makes the best sense now. But I also like the Vice Mayor's recommendation of looking into that, seeing if we can potentially down the road look at maybe doing the actual cutout there, where we actually have an area for the bus to stop there. I've also noticed that I was wondering about the actual use, how many buses actually stop there. Now, I know we put a facility there for them to use, specifically for them stopping. I went and looked at it. I went in there. Thank goodness it was a bus stop. There was a bus that was stopped there at the time that I went. I go, perfect. They opened it up. I went in. I looked at the station and looked at, just a restroom for them to be able to utilize. I took pictures and I forwarded to our acting city manager for further recommendations, but it's not us, it's whoever put this thing together. I also noticed that when they are there and they, go clean their hands, the water just falls to the ground and just splashes your pants, your shoes, everything, it just, so you literally have to lean back, step back and wash, and then you go and, clean your hands. And I was like, wow, well, that was a poor design. Why was that designed in that manner? So it was just something that I think needed to be looked at. I took a picture of it and forwarded it to our assistant city manager to get that addressed at a later date and time. But moving forward, what I think is we should move forward with the recommendation. Now, in terms of making the right, as our councilwoman was addressing, making the right turn on Gilson only, and also on the other opposite direction, only a right turn. I really think that we should not do that. And the reason being is because, again, we've gotten so many calls related to this issue here that, quite honestly, you're going to have the community once again coming forward and saying they can't get it right. That's what they're going to say. I'm telling you now exactly what's going to happen. They can't seem to get this thing right. That is the criticism that we will receive beginning as soon as it's done. And what I would like to do is, already, I believe you put some striping in there, keep the lane clear. That basically allows for people to stop and let them know to keep the area clear so the traffic can go through. And it seems to be actually working now. Initially, it was not. Now, they're actually stopping. Occasionally, you get some people and they do go right up and they block you. And then you're trying to maneuver around them just to get through there. But I think more and more, I think you're going to get people to begin to stop and allow the flow of traffic to go through. So for that, I would say is for us to move forward with alternative 2, but not implement the right turn, right in, right out, as you're calling it, I believe. You're calling it right in, right out for Gilson. I believe we should leave that out and continue to monitor that situation and report back. And that would be a statement to continue to monitor and report back just overall. Once we implement these changes, monitor, report back, and let's see where we're at. Do we need to take further actions, which would include the cutout here, the cost associated with that, checking with the owner, are you open to us pursuing this particular option? Those kinds of things is what I think. And also reporting on the costs associated with what was recommended by Councilmember Linus on that, because if we do it in one area, I believe we need to be consistent and apply it throughout, our bike lanes.
For similar arterials.
I think so. I think we would need to do that. I mean, because now we've created a situation we're only putting it in this area here, and I think that would add more to confusion. You have a bike lane over here, and all of a sudden you got green over here, and then over there it's white. Okay. So for us, I think we need to be consistent. So let's look at what we want to do. If we want to do it, I like it actually, because I do like what they've done in other cities with the colors. And you're right, it definitely creates a separation visually. You see that, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a bike lane.
So if council wishes to modify staff's recommendation to not include the right turn on Gilson and include green paint, that certainly can be done this evening with the approval by council.
Yeah, and are we doing it just for this area here?
The green paint, you mean?
Yes.
For this arterial, yes. This is the only one that we're discussing this evening.
Correct.
And,
so my
any
question
other-
is, will you be looking at the overall plan and making recommendations so that it's included throughout?
Yes, for those that are arterials, for those that are striped bike lanes, we would be recommending that to be consistent as council has suggested, and council would approve those other project plans in the future when those are ready for consideration.
Okay. Is everybody okay with what we just covered? And if not, I mean, I would like to propose it as a motion at this time to move forward with alternative 2, but again, we're modifying.
Do you mean
Oh, I'm sorry. 3.
3?
That
Staff's
is-
recommendation.
Yeah, that is what is being recommended, but without the right in, right out. Let's leave that. Let's make sure we keep the existing lines that we have there, to basically asking the traffic to keep this area clear for through traffic in that area. And as recommended by our vice mayor, we'd like to look at the possibility for the future of doing the option there that's on the slide that's currently on our screen, which would be alternative to that cutout area, and see if look into that and report back on that. And also the striping that was recommended by our council member Linus, which I think would be of great benefit. So if you can let us know. And that would be
Can I-
yes.
Yes, a
ma'am.
comment really quick. How about the option of moving the hub station somewhere else, elsewhere?
Sure, we can get an additional report on that, but I believe right now the only options that we have are what's on our agenda right now. But we can definitely, if you don't mind, looking at the study with regards to potentially relocating that, what it would cost, because I know whatever we paid is going to cost us the same amount of money to do it elsewhere, and we got to go through the approval process, and I mean, we're talking about a great deal of time involved in undertaking something like that. But we can definitely
We can add
please
that to
pro- yeah,
next year's
provide the
CIP.
information and report back on that, cost associated with it, time frame, and so on that goes along with that.
It's in the form of a motion. If nobody else has questions or concerns, I'd second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Really quickly, just
sir.
just to be clear, the motion is for alternative 3, but we're modifying staff's recommendation so that we're not doing the right in, right out.
Correct.
But we are including the green reflective striping on this project and then arterial roads moving forward.
I would approve the green on the other arterials at the time that those projects are
Correct.
considered for approval.
Okay.
And
We would
looking,
come back with that as a, possible recommendation, but at that time, we'll have to address each project
As its own
as
separate.
its own, yes.
Okay.
Because there may be different considerations for council.
Okay.
and if I understood
Yeah.
correctly, meanwhile, moving forward with number 3, we're going to be looking into number 2 to see what the possibilities are just in case.
Correct.
It's a no for me. I respect everybody's decision. It's just I'm not comfortable with like the unknowns. I'm still not comfortable with the safety of the bike lane and alternative 3. This is 2 different expenses that we're gonna have to make if we're going with alternative 3, but we're also gonna consider alternative 2. There's unknowns with the easement, right? Like the price that you're putting on here doesn't include what it's going to cost us to obtain the easement, if we're even going to be able to get the easement. So I'm not comfortable with making that decision with so many unknowns, at least for me. So it's a no for me. But I thank you for the report, and I definitely respect everybody's comments and where everybody's at. But for me, there's just I'm not comfortable with it as it's being presented. So it's a no for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have
Nay.
one opposed. Motion passes.
Mr. Mayor, is there a consideration to, and I don't know if this has been brought to us before, because I just think at this point, it probably would cost us less to just go back to the way it used to be with no bike lane at all, because I feel like that's probably going to be cheaper for us. Did that ever come to us with the price tag of what it would be just to, or if it even is an option?
It was presented previously and it was presented again here, and it is not recommended by staff. We did have a step grant that paid for bike lanes, and
Right.
we have a continuation in this next.
Is it because of the different
pavement
phases?
Rehab that's going to
Got it.
close that loop, so I would not
Got it.
pursue that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so again, motion passes, and we're gonna just move forward at this time. Thank you all. Appreciate your time. All right. Sure, absolutely.
Good evening, guys. Mayor, just to answer your concerns about the restroom is designed in that way to get people in the restroom and out of the restroom as quickly as possible, and that's why the basin is on the outside. Now, we did take your feedback and did recognize that the basin is low, so we went ahead and ordered a catch basin with
Good.
with the actual automated sensor, so you don't have to push the button. It should be installed within 2 weeks.
Great.
So
Awesome.
just wanted to clear that.
Thank you.
Any other
And you know what?
questions?
When I looked at that design, that's exactly what came to mind. They designed it in such a way to get, folks in there, out. Because I noticed it didn't seem to be very comfortable.
No,
quite
it's-
honestly,
it's a
it's not
speedy
enclosed. You got the elements that, you got, it's cold, windy, it's windy, rain. More than likely, you get some water in there. but I understand what the design, the intent was. I think there. It's just that if you're washing up, and you're trying to, stay dry, last thing you want is water splashing all over you.
No,
So, but
understood.
thank you. I appreciate the
Yeah.
update, and thank you for letting us know that that's been ordered and it'll be installed. Appreciate
May I
that.
say something, Mayor? Greg, is that
Yes.
only for the bus operators to use that restroom?
No, currently the Metro bus operators
Oh,
also use
everyone,
it.
okay.
Yes. We have an agreement with Metro. Since we stop at Cal State LA, we use their restrooms, so it's just a communal agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to item number 7, speed and reckless driving exhibition ordinance review.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. My name is Justin Edson, the Public Safety Manager. Tonight, I wanted to provide an update regarding our ordinance on speed and reckless driving exhibition. So our current code, Chapter 9.8, covers the enforcement, what we have at our disposal for people that are caught driving, reckless driving, speeding, exhibition, what law enforcement, our sheriff deputies can do. And I did highlight there that if they're caught and observed by a peace officer, they can be arrested and the vehicle can be impounded. Chapter 9.81 covers spectators, and that is broken down where we can either prosecute criminally with a misdemeanor or administratively. And I listed the first offense, second offense, and third offense once they're caught. 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 progressive citations that's handled administratively. So I did a comparison with other cities that have also taken on this type of enforcement with reckless driving and the speed exhibition. And looking at that, I did a side-by-side comparison with how they enforce the driver of the vehicles versus the spectators. And as you can see, we are right in line with the California Vehicle Code in terms of the drivers. It's an arrest and up to a 30-day impound on the car. But for the spectator, we actually have the highest fine for those spectators. As you can see, most cities do list it as a misdemeanor. Pico Rivera has copied Paramount with the $2,000 fine, but ours can go up to $5,000 in a 12-month period. And then also Norwalk just has it as a criminal misdemeanor. So, for example, with Paramount, they have a very proactive campaign for this. When speaking with their public safety staff, this is a very large issue for their city with these events. And so in coordination with public safety and the sheriff's department, they do proactive enforcement programs on a weekly basis. And I provided some stats that they shared with us regarding last year's enforcement. They had 31 arrests and 183 spectators cited with their sheriff's team, but they are seeing a large amount of these events. So it is a large priority for the city of Paramount. When speaking to the city of Pico Rivera, they admitted that they copied the exact code of Paramount, but they have not started the proactive enforcement on that. So they're still figuring that step out. So for us in the City of Commerce, our review of the municipal code, we have a very strong code to enforce. It's the same as other cities, if not better, for the fines. And then it just comes down to the enforcement. So what we are sharing is that last year in 2023, the sheriff's station received 39 calls regarding speed and reckless driving exhibition. And we're encouraging residents to continue to report these to our dispatch with LA Sheriff so that can be recorded. And what our team is doing with the Sheriff's Department is reviewing these locations that these calls are coming in to see if there's trends or time of day and kind of establishing where it's most prominent so we could adjust our resources to address that. So some ideas that we have is really looking at a zero tolerance campaign through social media, through signboards, in these critical areas to say that the City of Commerce does not tolerate the exhibition of speed and reckless driving, and then working with our Sheriff's Department to coordinate resources on where we see the most complaints or violations of this. And like I said, with our code being the way it is, we have the teeth to enforce it. One thing that was mentioned by the City of Paramount is currently they're having trouble with the district attorney filing the criminal side of it. And so they're going after the violators completely administratively. And they feel that that's been successful with the fines that they've been issuing. But that creates a little bit of an issue for enforcement, because if the district attorney can't file it criminally, then we can't go down that road as a punishment to the crime. And we also are not looking at the diversion program, because that's usually brought up during the criminal process. So City of Paramount did mention that the administrative side is effective. It's just the proactive enforcement that they're doing. But they did admit that's a major issue in their city compared to some of the neighboring cities. So with that, I just wanted to share the update in comparison with the ordinances between our city and others, and staff's recommendations to receive and file this update. Thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Is there any comments, questions on the presentation? Councilmember Rebollo?
I definitely think we should go for the jugular. Let's go for the $5,000 fee. Administratively, if the DA is not going to prosecute, I think that we need to send a message. We've talked about this. Gosh, I don't know how long we've been talking about, doing more and making sure that, that we're sending a message. Unfortunately, a lot of these racers are Commerce residents, so I know that we're going to hear it, right? But they also need to understand this is everybody's city and we all have to keep each other safe. So for me, I say we go for the highest penalty, and whatever's been working for the City of Paramount, implement it here, and let's do it. That's my comment.
Vice Mayor?
For some clarity, that those fines, is that up to the judge, or is that something they're gonna have to pay us?
The fines that were listed for the City of Commerce, the 3 steps, that's administrative through the City of Commerce. So the criminal route would be through the judge, and the for the criminal prosecution of misdemeanor, these fines are administrative fines to the city.
Okay, so they get caught, they're gonna go to court. However, no matter what the judge decides, they're gonna pay us the fee.
With any citation, they have rights to appeals and so forth, but technically, yes, the fine amounts come back to the city.
Okay. Oh, but it's up to the judge, because I mean, to be clear, what I've seen in the past is a judge takes it doesn't matter if the fine's 10,000, 20,000. The judge takes it as low as possible. So they might just slap them with the $100 fine, and that's it. So it does not mean that we're going to get the 5,000. They're just gonna get scared. 5,000. They're gonna go to court, and I've seen it over and over and over. The judge then drops the fee. So it's ultimately at the end up to the judge.
The judge has
Got it. Okay.
a lot of leeway.
I just want to be clear on that. Thank you.
And I'll just make a note too, is that and that's just for spectators. That fine amount, administrative fines are just for catching spectators. If you're the driver doing these reckless driving stunts, it's an arrest and an impound. So it is more severe than a fine.
Okay, and is there any other questions, comments? No? Is there, I guess take us through this. I mean, take us through this. You just hit it right on the nail here, explaining. So you've got 2 components. You've got the spectators, the people that get around and watch. That's a spectator. And so this applies to them, the actual fines, and we're recommending that it be administratively.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way it currently is, our ordinance, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so there is no violation related to being a spectator at one of these events?
The violation
prosecutable?
Well, technically it is prosecutable as a misdemeanor or administratively, but we at City of Commerce can file this with the DA, but the information we're receiving is the DA is not filing these misdemeanors criminally. So We have the authority to do that as a city.
And what is the reason for that? I'm just curious.
I mean, my understanding is with the district attorneys changed policies with how they are filing misdemeanors versus felonies. So it's the directive of the district attorney on what cases they want to file on. Some of my understanding from hearing with the district attorney is that the misdemeanor violations typically are let out, versus pursuing the felonies, more egregious things. So our violation of this code is a
Let
misdemeanor.
out, meaning it's dismissed? It's just dismissed, or?
They refuse to file it.
Oh, so they're not actually even filing, so
No.
therefore this thing just goes away.
Correct. Yes.
It's just dropped, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're pursuing it administratively now. Walk us through that process. Administratively, you catch somebody now. What's the due process there with the individual that is there that's caught there? Let's say I'm just walking. Hey, you caught me, but I'm just walking through the area here.
Well, there's in our code there's guidelines that would for a peace officer that responds to a call like that would make it obvious that they're a spectator. So we do have guidelines in there that they're there watching the event. The peace officer has to observe them, in that environment, watching the vehicles doing that. And I'm sure there's, could be dozens or hundreds of people there. So when the peace officers show up, the deputies, they would have to articulate that, whether it's through their body cameras or their statements of what they observed, that this individual that was caught and ID'd was watching the show. They were in the front row. So they would have to dictate that in the report for this violation. So our code does have the specifics of what a spectator would most likely look like or how they would act. It's obviously a lot easier on the vehicle side of the person doing the show or the reckless driving, but the spectator, we have to kind of prove them
And when you
guilty.
say prove, where are we going? What's the agency that's responsible for reviewing and looking at this, and administrator saying, yes, you were a spectator, and yes, we're fining you for that. And, and I mean, the enforcement portion of it, which you've already said, there seems to be some issues with it. So I just want to better understand that, the enforcement part. If there is a challenge, if they don't want to, no, it wasn't me, how is that enforceable now?
So the actual enforcement is done by the deputy. So the deputy would ID them for the violation. Administrative route versus the criminal misdemeanor route. The administrative route would be through us as a city versus them turning it into the DA criminally. So for us, that would be getting their information, knowing who they are. It wouldn't be an arrest because we're going administratively with that. But that would be where our city, with the city attorney's office, would pursue civilly through an administrative fine. So it would involve our side versus the DA side. It would be a city attorney pursuing this case administratively.
Okay.
So they would have their chance to contest or argue their side of the violation in front of the judge. Just like any other violation, they have the due process.
So they do go before a magistrate?
They
do go before a
but the
judge?
filing of it would be through the city attorney civilly versus a district attorney criminally.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, good. There's the area that I was having trouble with. So it actually does still go. They still have to show up and go to court. It's just more of an administrative
Correct.
function, though. And at that point, once we are able to prove that they are a spectator, then at that point, here's the fine for this. Who then, as was indicated by our vice mayor, who makes that determination whether the fine is appropriate or not? Does the judge then say, yes, you were, and here's the fine, or does he have leeway in reducing that amount?
I mean, I would probably refer to a city attorney for any legal possibilities with that. But my understanding is that with the judge, they have the authority to lower fine amounts, and alter that. Our code does talk about, that's why we have the 3 steps of fines, is that if they've been caught before, found guilty of that, If there's a history there, that obviously helps our case more to show that this person has been caught in this environment before. So those pieces of evidence will help us with our case, proving that they are guilty, and they're just not walking through the neighborhood at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor,
All right.
I'll jump in and you know, I'm reviewing the ordinance right now, and you know, the administrative citation process, as he shared, it's city driven. And so we would be the ones, our staff citing, making the citations. That's what oftentimes it's difficult to do this, because oftentimes these street takeovers happen very quickly, and to get our staff out there to stop someone, cite that person, you know, and in the code itself, it has kind of what evidence can be used. As he says, there are three, you could be fined, you know, first violation, $1,000, second violation, $2,000, third violation within 12 months, $5,000. These are all handled administratively. They're citations, they're tickets that we hand out. As he shared, you could also prosecute criminally, but it doesn't appear to be that the district attorney's office is prioritizing charging spectators or potentially participants criminally, because it seems to me that they're prioritizing their resources in other criminal offenses.
And understandable. I get that part of it, even though I'm not crazy about it, but I get it. But I was just trying to walk through the process so we understand. But they actually do go before a judge, which is good. So he's going to render a decision, and now that there's the enforcement part of it that I see. Now you have a judgment against you, which now we can then potentially enforce, depending on, I mean, it's going to take us probably more resources. But, and you can comment on that. Give me 1 second, because I would like to include an additional item, and that is we now have a new resource, and that is the street racing kills, which we have a grant for, right? We got a state grant that is funding street racing kills. So could we recommend it to the judge to have them, you know, view the presentation related to basically saving lives, which I think would go a long ways. It really does have a significant impact on those that view that, and I think it could potentially save their lives or somebody else's life. So I'm hoping that maybe we can add that in our ordinance, is recommending it to the judge as part of that. One, for sure, the fine, and also you need to go through this presentation or whatever. You know, I know they've been doing the presentations not only here in our city but other cities. But we should, if they're caught and they're found guilty, whether it be the individual doing the racing or a spectator, we should recommend to the judges that they put them through that process. And hopefully, you know, we can turn around a couple of them and maybe save their lives or somebody else's life. So that's one recommendation I would make to this.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Was there any additional comments, questions? Yes.
Justin, in Paramount, what staff are they using to enforce administratively?
All the enforcement, administrative and criminally, is done by the sheriff deputies. Their version of our SAO team. So their deputies it can issue administrative fines, and so whether they go the criminal route, especially with the vehicles that are driving, they can arrest them and take their car, and then the spectators, they can issue administrative fines. So it's the sheriff deputies.
Okay.
You know,
Did I misunderstand then your comment, city attorney? Because you're saying the city staff has to go out and do
Well,
it?
here, our staff would be the ones issuing administrative citations. But in my experience in communities where this is an issue, the city itself hesitates to put their own staff out in that environment, because oftentimes
Right.
the people that are out there are, you know, dangerous. You know, not only are they engaging in dangerous conduct, they themselves tend to be dangerous. So in hearing sheriffs make presentations on street takeovers, they oftentimes don't send their people there until the crowd has dispersed, or until they have a mass of sheriffs on site to then try to, you know, take control of the situation. But they oftentimes will share that they do not, I guess their training is, unless you're there with a group of your fellow sheriff colleagues, do not get involved until you have a mass there. So that's a part of the at least my understanding is the difficulty with the enforcement here is who are you gonna put out there to say, hey, you're a spectator, come here, you know, I'm gonna write you this ticket, right?
And we can't send our sheriffs?
Well, I mean, we could work with the sheriff's department, but in my experience is they tend to respond to something that's already ongoing. It's not like they stay in one space waiting for it to occur. I mean, our sheriffs that work for us would be better tell you kind of what their experience has been, but it seems to me that's often a frustration, right? So a lot of these street takeovers are announced on social media. Everybody knows it's going to happen, and then the question is how to best have law enforcement use their resources to, you know, get there before it happens or right as it's starting. You know, that's a law enforcement question, but again, a big issue here is putting people's lives at risk to actually issue the citations or arrest people or you know, however else to control that
Okay.
site.
No, I just wanted to understand because I thought I misunderstood, and just in case anybody in the public misunderstood like me, I thought you meant like we have to send our staff out there to do it administratively. I just took it as is, right? But I didn't realize that also means sheriffs can go out there.
Sure.
Like our staff includes sheriffs, right? And I think, I don't know if the sergeant wants to speak to this, but, you know, that is who we call in these situations. So arming them with this tool, right, is the way I'm looking at it, right, is something that we want to do. Because and I understand the safety issue, you know, I think all of us have witnessed it near our homes where we see like the masses of cars, and then we ask like, why didn't the sheriffs come? And it's been explained to us, right, like it's just not safe for them, and I totally understand that. But I would like for us to, I mean, I know that the sheriffs are going to respond eventually, but I would like to see us administratively like do something and obviously prosecute, right? And the mayor mentioned something incredible, which is the new tool that we have that we've partnered with. So I think that is all those components is something that I think gives us a bigger step towards the direction that we all want to go. So that was it. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, our sheriffs would respond to something like that. Correct?
That's
Thank you,
correct.
Councilwoman Rebollo. And yeah, if you don't mind answering her comments, and more specifically also if you're able to, there were cities that have been already cited as doing it and doing it administratively. I want to know, what is it that they're doing? How are they doing it? How are they handling it? And some of the ones I mentioned, I believe they actually have the sheriffs. So I'm hoping that we can get some information on that so that we can learn from that process and make sure that we're doing the right thing here as we move forward.
Okay, so based on the information, so yes, we will respond to street takeovers. Yes, there is you do not roll by yourself to a street takeover. There's 100+ vehicles, so you do have additional units respond with you to be able to obviously respond to the call for service. As you might know online, you can see there's numerous calls where deputies decided to be the one person to roll in. Their vehicles have been damaged, broken, vandalized. So that's not something, officer safety, we're not going to roll into that by ourselves. We're going to pre-plan what we're going to do, how we're going to get inside, and obviously get these vehicles moving. Most of the takeovers are fast. They're not there 30 minutes. Literally, it's 5-10 minutes, and they're in and out. They do their donuts, and they're out of the roadway. So it does, obviously, for deputies to respond. If there's an emergency call and they're tied up and you only have one unit available, by the time you wait by your units, you respond, everyone's gone. The last street takeover that I was part of was at the Citadel after the Black Friday. I'm pulling out of the Citadel. I'm told, hey, there's a street takeover in front of the Citadel. Yep, people on the freeway jumping over the fence to be spectators, and there's about 100 cars doing donuts in front of there. I'm by myself. I get on the radio. I call out additional units. Unfortunately, there was a deputy involved in a fight incident. So amazingly, resources are not there until they're trying to make sure our partner is safe. After they respond, everyone took off. So it's one of those things is how to coordinate. They're on the freeway. They left their cars on their freeway parked, jumped over the fence to watch people do donuts. So they coordinate. They have the green lights, as you know. They'll do the green lights to our vehicles to blind us. So that's even a bigger thing. We have arrow. We'll always try to get arrow, but they'll do the same thing with the green light over arrow to blind them, not being able to put out, hey, this is a vehicle that you could follow. Follow this vehicle leaving, because they don't want it to be obviously. License plates are covered, license plates are removed because they don't want us to be able to identify. I'm not sure if any of you guys are aware, Compton had one where there was a vehicle making donuts. They were able to identify the vehicle. They went and picked up the vehicle at the residence and towed it away for 30 days. So they're trying to figure out different ways of how we're able to get the cars, even though we're not able to get them in that moment. But later on, hey, I'm going to write a warrant because I'm able to identify that this vehicle was involved. So now I'll write a warrant to the house and I'll go pick up the car, take the car, and make that person responsible. As far as administrative, I don't have much information because most of the sheriffs, we do criminally. We don't do administrative because that's something more for the city. And that would be something that I would have to discuss with city how it's going to be done, because we do obviously criminally.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your response and your insight into this ongoing big problem for many of us here, you know, not only our city, but our surrounding cities and throughout California. But if you don't mind following up on exactly how Paramount and the other city that was cited on here that are doing the administrative, I'd like to know how they're doing it, and I would imagine that they're using technology to do something. And that is, at some point, this vehicle crosses somewhere, they pick it up, they've gotten information, they probably picked up their pictures. We need to be able to figure out how to complement that. You know, we got a great ordinance, but if you can't enforce it, then it's literally almost meaningless. So we need to figure out how we can take advantage of that. And I believe our vice mayor here has, I know he's got some really nice cameras over at his home, which he's consistently recommending we invest in. And I think we've appropriated some monies already. So we need to get an update on where we are with these cameras, when we're going to get them installed as to the recommended locations that were recommended by our law enforcement agency, and so we can put that plan together to begin to be prepared to move forward with something like this. I would imagine that, yeah, you're not going to go directly in, hey guys, you guys are spectators, but you do have them on camera and you can identify them, and if you're able to identify them, then we can actually then cite them later, whether it's at their home or picking up the vehicle, even though they cover the plates. I don't think they're driving around the city without the plates, you know, because that in itself is a red flag to pull them over, and now, you know, you can potentially stop them and cite them for something else. But anyways, if we can get more information on that, so we can figure out if there's anything else that we need to do with regards to this presentation to strengthen it, to allow it to work for us here in the city. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate all your comments, your input. I think they're very valuable to this ongoing discussion and problem that we continue to have. Thank you. And at this point, legal counsel, do we need a motion to receive and file on this? It's just an update, but we've also made some recommendations. Would that be something we can do, a receive and update, and then bring back any recommendations that were presented or heard here?
Sure, if you want to put it in the form of a motion, because there is some follow-up,
Mayor.
I believe, that we could bring back.
Sorry, sir. The recommendations that you said regarding the presentation, maybe we can add community service to that. So they do community service with the presentation of the, what's the title? The speed reckless driving.
Yeah, the ordinance that we have,
Yeah.
right, that was
So-
presented. So you would want them to do some community work here in the community? Is that what
Right.
you're recommending?
Oh, with the program that was brought forward to us, remember?
Okay,
program?
the street racing.
The
Is
street
that what we
racing,
were
thank you.
talking
I couldn't
about?
remember the street
Okay.
racing. If you would like to add that.
I think from listening to the city council, I think it would be appropriate maybe for the motion to come back with an update after staff has worked with surrounding cities, including Paramount, to see how they've administered their program, what has been successful, what hasn't been. I think I'd like to sit and talk to the sheriff's department as well, just to see if there's a way to coordinate kind of what they do closer to what city staff can do administratively. And once we gather that information, we'll come back and provide an update.
Okay, so that'll be the motion with the addition of the last item, which we wanted included in our ordinance, which would be to recommend to the judge that they be referred to Street Racing Kills for a presentation that they've done throughout, the presentation that they usually do.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll bring back, yes, understood.
Great. So I would move to approve at this time.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Okay, at this time, we'll move to committee and commission appointments.
Mr. Mayor, we have an appointment for Vice Mayor for Senior Citizen Commission.
Yes, I would like to appoint Beatriz del Rosario de Jimenez.
All right, any other appointments? Thank you.
Okay, this concludes this item. And we'll move to public hearing, item number 9. Resolution adopting certain fundings and approving energy I believe this is an item that we're going to be continuing.
Yes, staff is recommending that the city council continue this to the next regular scheduled city council meeting.
All right, you mind telling me when you're going to be moving it to? What meeting?
The next regular scheduled, which is, I believe, February 13th.
So you'll be prepared to move forward with this item, Vilco, at that point in time?
Will be.
All right, you will be? Great, thank you. So we'll move this item to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting, February the 13th.
Can we have a motion?
Can we do that by way of motion, please?
Could we get a motion to move item number 9 to the next regularly scheduled city council meeting? We have motion, is there a second? We have a second. All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. All right, continued. Thank you, everybody. And item number 10, adoption and second reading of ordinance to repeal ordinance number 784 to revoke development agreement number 784 related to a commercial cannabis permit application number 18-069.
Mr. Mayor, this is a second reading of the ordinance that was originally was approved for the first reading and the regular meeting on December 12th by unanimous vote of the council. And if you have any questions, we have Giselle here to answer any questions.
Is there any comments or questions? If not, a motion would be in order to approve. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. Lena?
I will read the title. The ordinance of the City Council of the City of Commerce and codified ordinance to repeal ordinance number 784, revoking related development agreement number 784 between Forefront Capital Holdings Incorporated in the City of Commerce, which allowed commercial cannabis activities at 6100 Bandini Boulevard and making findings of the secret categorical exemption.
Thank you, Lena. This concludes item number 10, and we'll move to city council reports. I'm going to start over to my right with Councilwoman Garcia, please.
Thank you. Can't really remember a lot of things, but I was able to sit with the public safety manager, and we went over his assessment. And I particularly chose to meet with him 4 months into his position because I wanted him to evaluate the performances and identify the corrective actions that he needed to take, if any. I was glad to say he's on the right path, and I believe we're waiting for the policy procedure to be revised with our proper channels. He mentioned that he's also putting together something with the EOC, and I'm excited about that. And hopefully one day he can have an elected official emergency response handbook. And I thank you for taking the time to meet with me, and I'm glad that we're moving forward with our public safety concerns and issue from the residents that we talked about. That completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Garcia. I'll move over to the right, to my left. Councilmember Rebollo, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not too much to report. I did go to our COG meeting this month. I realized that I very rarely report on the meeting. So two major things. There's some information that I've forwarded to the Assistant City Manager on some energy plans that if we should decide to move forward on is through our COG. This, I think next month, there's different energy plans that will be launching soon for residents. But in order for our residents to be a part of it or to receive some of those benefits, the city has to be a part of the Empower Energy Plan through the COG. So the Assistant City Manager has that information, and I'm hoping that he's reviewed it and that we can meet about it to see if that's something that's feasible for the city, because it will definitely benefit our community. There was also a discussion on the Metro West Santa Ana branch line, which this week was revealed that it now has a new name, which is the Southeast Gateway Line, which will run down the Southeast corridor, which is something that's really exciting. I will let the mayor talk about our the Metro, the Gold Line extension that we attended on Saturday. But I attended with him, and I'll let him report on that. I also had a very, very productive and super exciting meeting with the president of East Los Angeles College. And there is a lot of wonderful things and projects that we would like to work on with ELAC as for them to bring to the city. And I'm just really excited for just that partnership that they would like to have with our city, and just a lot of the cool things that they want to bring here to the City of Commerce. So that was exciting. And that's it. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's it. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and for the directors and staff that's here today. Happy birthday to the City of Commerce. I look forward to many more birthdays here in the beautiful City of Commerce. So happy birthday. And with that, thank you to the amazing visionaries and our incorporating mothers that made sure that we were able to celebrate a birthday today. So that's it. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. God bless you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Rebollo. Councilmember Linus.
I just want to wish our wonderful city a happy 64th birthday. And because we are all commerce, happy birthday to everyone here. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Altamirano.
I have no reports at this time.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And glad to see you. You're doing well. I know you were a little under the weather. So, and also Councilmember Linus. Good to see both of you. Yeah, as our Councilwoman Rebollo touched on, of course, we did attend that Metro, well, now Southeast Gateway Line, or the Gold Line extension project. It was a good meeting. It was just an update to bring us up to date as to where things were, but it looks like things are moving really fast, moving forward, and we're really looking forward. There was representatives from the different cities that were there, all the way from Montebello, City of Commerce, Val Garden. Was it Val Gardens there? No, I'm sorry. Of course, City of Whittier, Pico Rivera, and in other cities. I know I'm forgetting a couple here, but nevertheless, it was just an exciting time to be there because it was many years ago that this project started, and we were excited about the fact that we will get an actual stop behind the Citadel, which I think would be just a big addition to help us alleviate a lot of the problems that we have here in our community when it comes to just traffic in general in that area, with shopping, with the different holidays that we have. I think it'll really help. But not only that, I think it'll also provide a great deal of opportunities for the entire region, because it doesn't only we not only get a stop there, but there's going to be multiple stops along the way. They're gonna continue on into Palm Springs. I mean, Palm Springs, Santa Fe Springs, and then it's gonna move up into city of Whittier, which there's nothing there now. If you ever go to Whittier, it's difficult to get there. I mean, you got to get off from Beverly. You got to find different ways to get there. So, again, all in all, I really think it's an area that's been underserved for a long time, and we now have representatives on the Metro Board that recognize that, and they're very eager to move forward and get us the funding that we need to start the project and get going with this. So, and they're telling us that getting us to actually get out there and break some ground is going to be here soon, right around the corner. So we're looking forward to that day. So I'll conclude that, and again, thank you all. Happy birthday to our. Again, I'll use the term generous city, and only because I really do feel our city has been very generous, and it's given so much to so many here in our community. And it's good to see we had somebody come and speak. We don't always get to hear some of the good things going on, but it's good to get somebody to come up here and say, hey, thank you, and we appreciate what you've done, not only for his child, but all of our kids in our community, the different programs that we have here. And it all starts again with each of you that really put a lot of time and effort in putting our programs together, making sure that we get the resources that we need to make sure that our athletes, our residents, and those that participate in our programs are able to participate at extremely competitive levels, and everywhere they go. I mean, you get letters, you get comments. If you go to some of the games, once they know you're from Commerce, they're like, "Oh my God, you guys have a great team. You guys are really well organized." You always get really positive comments, and it's good to hear that from other cities. So again, thank you to all of you, and happy birthday to our city. And that concludes our report, and we will be going into closed session after our meeting here. So we're going to finish up some unfinished business. So again, thank you all very much. And this time we'll reconvene to closed session, but we'll take a short 5-minute recess before we reconvene into closed session. Thank you.